Good afternoon, everybody. This is Fago Franklin III Media. I am joined by former Jacksonville Jaguars field goal kicker Mike Hollis. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
I can't complain. But before we get into your sports journey, can you give my viewers some words of encouragement for today?
Oh man, just strive for your best. Be passionate about life in general, and just move forward. There's no reason to go backwards. Got to be better than yesterday, and just strive for perfection and that passion. Just let it go. Again, you got to dumb things down. Just let things flow and have a good time with stuff.
Amen to that. Thank you for those words of encouragement. So, how have you been adapting since this pandemic has started?
I'm in Florida, so it's not nearly as bad, you would think, but, it is scary. First off, when it first came out, we didn't know what it was, and, we're learning things as we go. I honestly, and again, I'm a little on the stubborn side when it comes to this kind of stuff. It seems to me that there's a lot more fear that needs to be with this. But again, I'm not taking it lightly. It's definitely a serious thing, and got to make sure that we're taking care of people and ourselves as well. So, just hopefully we'll get through this and treat it like, something in the past, and move forward and learn from it.
Amen to that. So we're about to get into the holiday season right now. I mean, we got Christmas and the New Year's. What are some of your favorite holiday traditions that you and your family had growing up?
The first thing that comes to my mind is my mother's amazing holiday Christmas cookies and candy, and we had the little green wreaths made out of marshmallows and cornflakes, kind of like Rice Krispie treats. But man, I tell you, just getting the family together and I'm in Florida, of course, and they're up in Washington State. I actually honestly have not been back for a while during the Christmas times, but it's time. I need to get back soon. But it's it's always a good thing to see all the family you haven't seen in a while, and get some time to talk to them and associate and just have a great time. It's not nothing crazy about any traditions that I've had in my past. Just getting the family together and sharing stories and loving each other.
So I know that you were a kicker in the NFL. What actually inspired you to become a kicker first and foremost?
Wow, how much time we have?
We have a lot.
I played soccer as a kid, and I wasn't always the fastest, most athletic guy in the field, but I always kind of tended to have a little bit of the stronger leg, so I would be, I would take the penalty shots in most cases if it was just a penalty shot. Now overtime stuff we'd have multiple guys, but I always had kind of a strong leg. But I just as a small kid, I was very, very small as a kid, and I still am as an adult, but I still think I'm a kid. But I'm 5'7", 180 pounds nowadays, but even back then when I was just messing around as a kid, kicking was something I didn't feel like would be too scary for me to play as far as getting killed. Those guys are big and strong and fast, and I was just trying to find a position because I love playing football. Out with the neighbor kids, we're clearly not in pads, so we're not killing each other, but we do lay some licks eventually here and there. But just having the experience of playing in the neighborhood with the kids around, all of our friends and so forth. But having that experience playing football there, led me to actually the actual game and organized football. But I knew that I was pretty small and I didn't want to get killed, so I kind of stuck with kicking. And I slowly developed a passion and a love for it. And it was very challenging to get all the stuff down and make the kicks, and then once you start you figure out you're a good kicker and you can athletically kick a ball pretty well, that athletic ability doesn't last your whole lifetime, clearly, so you have to kind of adjust and early on, if you understand proper form and technique with whatever athletic ability you had, which I didn't have a lot. I mean, it was kind of athletic in middle school and high school, but Getting in the NFL as I did, I don't attribute that to my athletic ability, my size, or my strength. It's clearly the opposite. I'm not real big. I'm not real strong. I'm not freakishly athletic. So my technique was really what got me there. So I just found a passion for kicking, the challenge of making kicks, but that solely changed into the challenge of doing good form. Once I understood the form and technique, that I would focus on that and make that the priority. And then guess what happens? The kicks actually happen. They make, they make themselves, and the form was really what did it. So it's a little bit of a backwards mindset, but that was a very, to openly answer your question, I just found a great passion about it, and just love doing it on a daily basis all the time.
Mm-hmm. So you went undrafted. What was that feeling like, being undrafted and then to finally get that opportunity within a pro team?
Well, I went to junior college for 2 years, and then I went to University of Idaho. So even at the University of Idaho, we were 1AA, and I knew my field goal stats weren't the greatest. I had a pretty strong leg, and I was kicking off pretty well. But, you don't get a lot of recognition or notoriety in 1AA. Even though scouts and coaches are very smart at what they do, they're going to games. And fortunately, I had other players on my team that were getting looks from scouts, and these guys from the NFL would come watch these games. And so, I knew I wasn't going to get drafted just because I was kind of an average, field goal kicker. I was decent with kickoffs, and coming from a 1AA school, I knew I wasn't going to draft. So I wasn't heartbroken at all. I knew that was going to happen. So it was just a matter of time for me to get better at my kicking, and just kind of it forced me to work harder is really what it did. So. I continued to work, and I've had a coach, a lifeline coach for a long time. But he's Jim Gaetano is the guy's name, and he's the one that taught me everything about kicking. And growing up, it was awesome to have that ability to have someone to teach you the proper fundamentals and technique for the kicking form. And then now he's my head guru really at the Pro Form Kicking, where we coach on a daily basis. So. It was awesome to have him doing a lot of recruiting for me as well. He was an NFL kicker as well. Got into one training camp, but he tried out for a long time and got to know a lot of the scouts and coaches during those 10 years of trying out. But he was able to talk to some coaches, and we kind of, between my agent that I had at the time and Jim, we kind of double teamed these organizations, and finally got in. My first team was with the Chargers in 1994, and it was a great experience for me, learning a lot of the stuff from John Carney, and just kind of learning a little about the NFL. And just, I was like a kid in a candy store there, I could tell you that. But John was a great kicker, and I knew I wasn't going to make the team because he had 4 or 5 years prior to that with the Chargers, and he was very, very good. So I knew I was just a camp leg, and it was a great experience for me to go through there, and that led me to Jacksonville.
So what does it mean to you that football molded you into the person that you are today?
I think football is very demanding, especially kicking, of course. There's a very, very high level of work and ethics and just morals, and you really have to focus. And there's a high level of expectations, not only within yourself but within the coaches, about you. Kicking at the highest level of football in the world really is what the NFL is. Requires a lot of attention to detail and a lot of work. And I think that's made me the way I am now. I'm more of an entrepreneur. I kind of do a lot of variety of different things, but I found joy in playing football, and I didn't want to I don't want to live my life in this situation, because you hear stories, and I've heard stories of a lot of people in my life personally that I know, and more so with friends and associates that have said stories about how they their father or whoever had just retired from a long career in some corporate office, and a year or two later he's sick and not doing well, or unfortunately passed away. So I don't want to live my life in an office. I want to be active, and that's kind of my mindset, and that's really where I I'm coaching clearly, and was just out there for a couple hours this morning coaching. It's like 53 degrees here in Jacksonville, so it's a little cold. But just kicking in general, I think overall, especially at the NFL level, it teaches you, a lot of accountability and respect for the game itself, and respect for your teammates and your opponents too. So those are all great life lessons. And I tell you what, a guy like Tom Coughlin, people might have their own opinions about Tom. And I, to be honest with you, I did back in the day when I was playing. Young guy, what's this guy? Why is he my socks aren't pulled up high enough, or whatever the case may be. And back then you kind of wonder, scratch your head, and now you look back and think, wow, I get it now. And the thing is, he didn't really have to say anything about any reasons why he had those rules, but it was just a kind of a silent, professional way of making us realize, what life's all about and what you want to be a part of. And I guess that goes back to that passion. I found a passion with kicking and football, and now now I'm not playing. I've found a passion in coaching what it is I did. And, just want to have fun and live a fun life and not worry about having to do something that I call work every day. I don't have a job. My job is as much as I could say is our hobbies. They're, coaching is a hobby, but I get paid for it, and other things that I do are more hobbies, and I don't want to have that mentality where I'm stuck in an office all the time. And I really want to be active with what I'm doing. And that's where I go with that.
So how did you handle pressure games when you had to go out there and kick a game-winning field goal? How was that pressure on you?
It is a lot of pressure. Kicking is both mentally and physically challenging, and especially in the NFL because of the high level of expectations, really. But that game-winning kick, I was a little different. I didn't really feel the need for any sort of, sports psychologist or anybody to try to get into my head to teach me anything about, how to deal with that kind of stuff mentally. My mental strength in kicking came with my trust in my form and my technique. So ultimately, if you've gotten so good at your technique and your form, there's really no reason to worry about what's about to happen. And that's another life lesson too, is like I get on people all the time about, you got to stop worrying about stuff. And if you look back at the things you worried about yesterday or the day before or a year ago, and look back how many of those things that you were worried about actually happened, more times than not, they don't actually happen. So worrying about it makes it even worse, and it's not good for your health either. So just kind of dumbing it down, and that's really where I'm going with this, is just making it seem like a very simple process so that you don't add any more pressure to yourself. There's already a lot of pressure to begin with, and you got that game in kick. You can't put more pressure on yourself. So that's when you have to, put less pressure on yourself. And that's where hence the dumb it down part comes in, where you have to simplify the process and trust the process too. That's probably the most important there is the trust in the process. But, specifically when it comes to the game-winning kick, I have to trick my mind into thinking it's the first kick of the game. Every kick is important, and it just happens to be the kick that I'm doing right now at this moment will change the outcome of the game. But if you really look at it in detail, the kick I did, 3.5 quarters, almost 4 quarters ago, the first kick of the game, that was a very important point too, because that put us in the position we're in right now. So every kick is identically important. And again, if you worry about the consequence, if you worry about the result before you actually do what it is that makes that result happen, you'll add more pressure to yourself, and a lot of times you'll second guess yourself in a way that you'll try harder to do what it is you're trying to do instead of just trying the same. I've told kids this too: don't do anything more on game day than you have to do in practice that you've done a million times in your life. You're out there kicking a ball in practice. It doesn't really matter. There's no referees, there's no fans, there's no score. It's not really a game, but it matters to an extent. But you have to treat that game day just like practice, in the sense that it doesn't matter. And that's going back to the whole trusting in your form and technique. People say, well, how did you deal with it mentally? I said, well, I didn't really care where the ball went. Wait, what do you mean you didn't care where the ball went? I really didn't care. I had my focus and my priority was in my technique and making sure that was solid, rather than actually trying to kick the ball. Because then when I'm trying to kick and steer and make the ball, that's what I do, is I athletically try to steer it, and I'll do things that my brain wants to do athletically and naturally, and within the common sense realm of kicking in the world, which is a lot of bad things that we don't teach. I'm going to go back and revert back to that steering process where I'm trying to make the kick. That's why you see guys that play real well, maybe outdoors. We've experienced it too, firsthand, where we've had athletes that kick really well. They get the form down. They're kicking really well. We're outside. We're kicking field goals, making everything. We got in this one specific example. I got one kid into an arena team here in Jacksonville, and his form changed. He changed. His form changed. Because the goalposts are more narrow, and now it counts. Now he's got to make them, and he did not kick anywhere like he was kicking when he was kicking with us, which was great. Outside, there's no worry about making or missing, and you got wider goalposts. The form and technique were great. He would have made most of every AFL arena football kick outside. If you just take those same kicks inside, he would have made the majority of them, which would be unheard of. But the technique is something that you just have to trust and not worry about it. So that's where we get into trouble when we think too hard about that kind of stuff.
Is freezing the kicker a real thing?
It is to an extent. I think it just what it does is it's a hiccup. It's kind of an interference of the normal routine. That's where I think guys don't treat it. And again, I'm just saying the way I treated it, it worked for me, because what happened was, I would tell my coach that, if we get, a timeout before I'm kicking field goal, I'm going to kind of run off to the sideline and take a drink of water or something. And I told his coaches, I said, listen, call field goal again. So it just puts me, to reprograms my mind into thinking we're back at square one. We just got third down or whatever, got stopped, and we're calling field goals. So let's just start the process all over again, because there is a certain routine you get into when you run on the field. When you hold, put your foot down for your holder to put the spot down, you line up, you wait for the snap, the snap comes, you kick it. There's a routine that almost always happens almost, effortlessly, and you do it in your sleep, really. So, and there's a timing and all that, and that's what really, going to answer your question, that's what it does. That timeout stops the time, and you just have to restart it. Some guys actually stay out there and they start thinking more about it. And yeah, I get it. Here's a good question, is what would really bother you if you thought there was a timeout going to be called and it didn't get called?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That would kick her up. That's word to the special teams coaches out there. Don't call that timeout. And the head coaches, really, don't call that timeout when that team you've got 2 or 3 timeouts left or whatever, and you're lined up for the game winner. Don't call timeout, because that kicker's going to be like, crap, there's no timeout, and it's going to throw him off. It happened to me.
So tell my viewers a little bit about your kicking academy.
We're here in Jacksonville, Florida, and we've been doing it for, I guess, almost 14 years now. We have an indoor facility here locally. We kick outside as well, but we're very specific in the technique. I can go on for hours with the technique, but we're different in the sense that, I mentioned before, I'm 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. If you do, if I do some traction or inverted table, probably 5'8", but 5'8", 180 pounds. But that's what I played at when I was playing in the NFL. And so those two things. Plus, I'm not the greatest athlete. I was just a little bit above average as an athlete growing up. So the stuff that I did with my technique allows me to use 100% of me into the kick, where most guys, and like I mentioned before about common sense, most guys using their common sense mentality about kicking, because when you're field goal kicking nowadays, you're not toe punching anymore, but you're off to the side. So when guys are kicking field goals, you're kicking off, they tend to do a lot of lateral motion, because the brain says, well, I'm off to the left, and the target I'm trying to kick the ball is over to the left, as a right-foot kicker, clearly. That my brain says I've got to do something left to make the ball go left, and I don't want to do that. That's going to sacrifice forward momentum and body weight and a lot of stuff. So that's why it's tough for some kids when they come in for the first time and start to learn this stuff. It's a little challenging because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But the good news is, I'm 48 years old now, but I can still kick. Matter of fact, I was kicking this morning with the kid that was out there, a couple kids that were out there today. And I can still kick, and I can show them that I literally can swing forward and the ball goes left of me. And the thing is that not a lot of people understand that or know it, but I'm living proof of it. I wouldn't be so passionate about it if it was something that I just saw someone else do and, oh, that works, that's great. No, I did it. I did it at the highest level of football in the world. And, I led the league in scoring one year. And I'm not bragging on that. Or, I kicked a 59-yard field goal in a game in a dome in the NFL. At 5'8", 180 pounds, very average athlete. I say that because it was my technique that did it. It wasn't me. It wasn't all of the above. And you think about all the kickers in the world right now, and there's only 32 teams in the NFL. And it seems like every year NFL teams struggle, some do, to find a kicker that they can rely on. Why is that? There's millions of kickers around in the world that probably athletically, and result-wise, they're probably really good and can handle those jobs, that duty. But why is it that the NFL can't find somebody like it? Well, there's 32 teams clearly, but every year you see kickers getting cut and all that, and it's mind-boggling. It's not like if you compare it to like golf. Golf has been around a million years. And there's a lot of golfers, and they're all doing kind of the same technique. It seems like, it's almost, there's a lot of very, very similar things that all these great golfers are doing with their technique. Well, kicking is different. Has not reached that level yet, clearly, because there's all kinds of different techniques out there, and there's all kinds of different athletic abilities out there. And I'm just living proof to show you that, the technique is very important. And I'm telling you, the guys that are very athletic, those are sometimes the hardest ones to work with, because they can kick the ball, good and even better than me, higher and straighter and further than I can, but not all the time. But they rely on that athletic ability, and they don't really want to do anything different because athletically they're kicking just fine. But you'll lose that athletic ability, sooner or later. So you'll have to have something to rely on. And if you combine the athletic ability with the technique that we teach, man, the sky is the limit. I'm telling you, guys will be kicking 80-yard field goals. It's crazy.
So I want your perspective about Jacksonville. What else do they have to do in order to get to that next level within that organization?
Well, I think there's a lot of inconsistencies with the program. I think that there's a lot of things that change every year. Coaches we've had a little bit of a coaching carousel, and now our general manager's not there, and we fired him and so forth. But I think that there's just been a sense of they always talk about rebuilding years. Well, we've been rebuilding for quite a while, and we've had issues with the quarterback position ever since, I would say Mark Brunell, because I'm very biased with that, because I think Mark Brunell was the best quarterback in the league back in the day. He was my teammate, of course, but it's you get that quarterback position figured out, but our offensive line, that's something that we haven't really not a lot of people understand or have actually mentioned the fact that in order for your quarterback to be successful, especially in the throwing game, is your offensive line has to be good and protect them, So one of the, the New England Patriots, one of their priorities was offensive line, because of Tom Brady when he was there. We got this great quarterback. We need to protect him. We need to, get him, to be able to focus and not, think about getting killed on every play. And, that plays a lot of, it plays an important role in the mindset of these quarterbacks, because if they're fighting for their life every play, and if they're fearful of getting killed on every play, how good do you think the throws are going to be?
Exactly.
I think that's one of the things the Jaguars have struggled with for a very long time, and I think that's something that we need to hone in on and make that a priority, really. But there's a lot of stuff going on, as far as the administrative stuff. But it's a great organization. They want nothing but the best. Take care of the players. The city's great. The fans are awesome. We have a lot of positive people around here. It's just a matter of, getting the games back and where we're winning again, and moving forward from there.
And my last question is, what advice could you give people about making their dreams happen, overcoming obstacles, and just keep moving forward within life?
Well, that fancy word passion is the first thing that comes to my mind. Once you to find passion for something, might be challenging for some people, but challenge yourself. Have a passion about something, and it's the mindset of guys who get to the NFL and play in the NFL and are in the NFL for a long time. It's a little different than your average person. I think people could probably understand that. Call it crazy, I don't know, but it's just a matter of I think guys who get into the NFL and play a long time, they're the ones that challenge themselves, and they are the first person they're upset with if they don't do something properly. You don't need a coach or fans or the media or anybody else to tell you did a poor job. You're the first person that's going to say, yeah, I did a crappy job today, or that play was crappy, I got to get better. So if you're passionate about something, I think that's going to help you clearly challenge yourself with that. And I've told kids this in speeches and stuff that I do, is say, listen, if you can, and that's another thing too, is people think about goal setting and all that's, they follow all these leaders, these professional motivators, and a lot of those people talk about setting goals. I get that, I understand that, but I've never been a goal setter, within reason. Okay, so my goals are to do the best I can each and every day under the circumstances that I'm given. So if I'm able to look myself in the mirror after, at the end of each day and honestly tell myself that I did the best that I could under the circumstances that I was given in anything in life in general, whatever the case may be, then I have not failed a goal. So that if I put a goal on myself, a pretty, have 100% on field goals this year, well, the moment I missed my first field goal, I have failed myself. And that is a failure. And I don't want to set a goal. Set realistic goals. I understand that, but set goals that are higher. That force you to work harder. But I work hard each and every day, and the accumulation of all of that, every day in and out, the accumulation of all those days put together at the very end of the day and end of the year, the season, whatever it might be, where that goal that you would have originally put there. If I do good every day, the goal should, whatever the goal is fine. I've succeeded because I've honestly said that I've done the best I can every day, each and every day under the circumstance that I've been given. So that's the biggest piece of advice that for me, the work for me, and it still does to this day. Is if I feel like and there's been many days where I could have done better today. So I failed, whatever that might be, but. The goal here is to enjoy life and have joy and satisfaction in doing well for yourself. You're going to be the first one that will be happy for your success, as long as everyone else is happy and you've done your job and you've contributed and all that. And you're also going to be the first one that's going to be critical of yourself in times that you weren't as good as you could be. So. It's all up to you. Your mind's a very powerful thing, and I think if you can control it in a sense where you're not getting over realistic, unrealistic, I should say, and just you take each moment at a time, and that's where I think some people get a little too carried away when they think too far ahead, and even worse when they look too far behind them, and they focus on stuff that happened in the past. You're not going to, other than if they're making those incidents better. That would be one thing, but I know I'm rambling here, but this is something I love talking about because the way my mind is a little different in a way that, I'm kind of a little bit backwards. I like to think of working on things that work for me and that I focus on and let the results happen. And if I'm doing the process properly, the results should happen in the way I want it to. If I'm not doing the process properly, the opposite should happen. So focus on the process, simplify the process, trust the process, and have fun and enjoy that passion.
Thank you again for joining me, Mike. As you heard it from Mike, you have to have a purpose, passionate, and be persistent about your goals and your dreams. Mike, before we let you go, where can my viewers find your academy?
Proformkicking.com, PROFORMKICKING, proformkicking.com. And that's also the handles for all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn actually as well.
And this is Fago Franklin III. You can always follow me on Fago Franklin III, on my Facebook, which is Fago Franklin III, my LinkedIn, Fago Franklin III, my Instagram, which is SuperJournalist87, or you could just Google me for all the exclusive updates and interviews that I have done with celebrities as well as athletes. Thank you again for joining me, Mr. Mike. It's been a blessing. Definitely have a safe and blessed holiday, my friend.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed one.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.